Welcome back to Talk Horror to Me, the only movie review horror podcast that loves and hates red dragons. Let's find out what we're looking at tonight. Tonight, we review The Silence of the Lambs, a 1991 American psychological horror film directed by Jonathan Demme and written by Ted Talley, adapted from Thomas Harris's 1988 novel. It stars Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling, a young FBI trainee who is hunting a serial killer named Buffalo Bill, played by Ted Levine, who skins his female victims. To catch him, she seeks the advice of the imprisoned Dr. Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins, a brilliant psychiatrist and cannibalistic serial killer. The film also features performances from Scott Glenn, Anthony Held, and Kasi Lemmons. Welcome back, everybody!
Yay! We're back!
Yay!
Woohoo!
So, Carlie, you should be way more excited about this film. That was a little timid. Woo-hoo.
Oh, sorry. I'm
I
just
mean-
trying not to blow everybody, ears
No,
out.
you're doing amazing. We'll do all sorts of sound checks for you. So you picked this film.
Yes, I did.
Yes. Well, tell us before we get into it, why did you pick this film?
Well, I wanted to see. It's been so long since I had seen it, and I actually had seen it before. Surprise, surprise. And I wanted to see if it held up, to see if it made me just as anxious, just as jumpy, and it did. It did. But let's go to Miss Brooke and find out what she thinks.
I love this movie. The performance from the guy that plays Buffalo Bill was amazing. He's a good actor. I don't remember his name though, but he's a good actor.
Well, he was also in a bunch of things. He was in Monk with Tony Shalhoub from 13 Ghosts. You know him. So yeah, that's Ted Levine as the actor in question. I don't think I've ever seen him that skinny in any other role he's ever played, from my point of view. For my money, yeah, this movie, I've seen it many times, but probably not within the last 10 years. And you talk about, does it hold up? Yeah, it's the artistry, the way it's shot, even though this is way before 4K and in high digital. It's soft in spots, obviously, it has been a 1991 film. But yeah, just in general, the acting portrayals, just the way they shot it, the camera work, this movie, like you said, keeps all the dread, keeps all the anxiety on high def, pretty much the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And the music too. I like the music.
Yeah. And I knew she was going to be okay, but I was still like, oh my God. It was fantastic. And I wanted to bring up the fact that, I know that Chuck is the king of facts, but I'm going to, go out there tonight about Ed Gein. Ed Gein was the inspiration for Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs. He's known as the Butcher of Plainfield or the Plainfield Ghoul.
Yes.
Ooh. He was a murderer and a body snatcher, and he would use skin and bones like trophies. It was really disgusting. I've got
he's more of an artisan. I mean, he's an artisan. He made lampshades.
Yes, waste baskets.
Yeah, he made bowls out of people's skulls. And ironically, Ed Gein did way more body snatching than he did murdering.
Yes.
Murdering, it was just incidental, like way later. That's how he got caught. But yeah, when they went to his house and he had the bodies strung up in the barn and he was skinning them, making his own bodysuits.
Yeah.
Buffalo Bill. Yeah, definitely a 1-to-1 translation in my mind.
Yeah, and he was also the inspiration for Psycho with his mother fixation, and Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
How many people did he kill?
He is known to kill 2, but he's suspected of 7 others, but he never confirmed them. And then he was declared legally insane.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine that.
No, man, he's just, mother of invention. He got a skull, you make a bowl out of it.
Right.
Oh my
He
God.
had
Ew.
skulls on his bedposts
Yeah.
and a belt full that was made out of nipples, and I'm just this guy was too much.
Well, I mean, we always could review the Ed Gein documentary at some other time. But yeah, it's pretty weird. There's a couple different documentaries that he's
Oh, I
he's
didn't know
definitely messed
that.
up. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, you know me, I love that stuff. Ed Gein's one of my faves, and thank you, Ed Gein, for making sure that you inspired so many other people to give us such great horror gems.
Mhm.
But let's talk about it. The one thing I love about this film, again, multiple Oscar winning, this film, considered the first modern horror film, although it's really more psychological than it is horror, to win the Academy Award. But Anthony Hopkins,
Yes.
16 minutes total airtime, which felt like he was on screen every second of this film, seemingly.
Yes.
And he was like so impactful. Just thoughts.
Well, his presence is so large, and it just felt. I honestly, when you told me it was only 16 minutes, I'm floored because to me he embodies this film,
Mhm.
Right.
and there's so much. He puts so much into those 16 minutes that it's like he's in every shot,
Yeah,
even though he's
seemingly.
not.
Which is ironic of all this series from Thomas Harris. This is the one that's not about him.
Right.
Incidental about him. I mean, whereas Hannibal's about him. The series about him. Even Red Dragon in Manhunter, he was not the main villain. He was just the guy in prison that people went to get advice because he knew their pathologies. And he could do that type of stuff, a la CSI and those things. So yeah, the fact that Manhunter, Red Dragon, and Red Dragon's a remake of that film by the real name of the book, and this one, yeah, he's not the bad guy, but yet we think of him as just this notorious, iconic killer.
Right.
Although
he was like creepy but very highly intelligent. That's what I like.
Mhm.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say is that if you've watched the series Hannibal,
No, I haven't.
You love it, Carlie, love
It's
it.
good.
The one thing I like that when spoiler alerts, when the captain, the police captain, is strung up with the banners and his intestines are pouring out, is that was really like the most artistic kill that we got to see, and we'll talk about kills in a minute. But when you watch the series really embellishes the artistry of Hannibal Lecter's kills.
Right.
Like how he positions them, the artistry of how he puts them up, which I really loved in the series. It really denoted that like exquisitely. Yeah. So we really we get underprivileged. We don't get enough Anthony Hopkins and who Hannibal Lecter is, which we do in Hannibal, as Brooke knows. We get a lot more of him in that. But yeah, for this film to just have him as, you think he's the main bad guy and you kind of forget about Buffalo Bill is kind of ironic and weird. It just shows you how powerful his performance is.
Yeah, I like how he escaped with just a pen. Like, killed all of them with just a pen. I'm like, wait a minute.
That was the beginning.
Or was it just a continuation? It's hard to say. But since I was talking about kills, we should go right into that. What are our favorite kills? And we will start with Brooke.
Yay. My favorite kill, I would say, I'm trying to think. When he ripped the captain up, that was my favorite kill. Like what you said, that was very artistic.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it was a great shot to like pan in on, or actually pan out when all the cops are. Ironically, here's a weird thing: all those cops jump into that room, and some guy is pointing directly above the door as if Hannibal Lecter is Spider-Man, which I thought was pretty funny.
If you notice, every single one of them was pointing their gun in a different direction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was very weird. It was very iconic. It looked like some of Charlie's Angels, like the silhouette. I was like, why is that guy pointed over the door at the exit sign? I didn't understand that. Carlie, what did you think? What was your favorite?
Well, my favorite was the one that was hidden, the one that fell through the elevator when they opened up the hatch,
Oh,
because that was the way he got out. He had killed this guy and taken his clothes and like done something to his face, lacerated his face.
Oh, he
So
took his
that,
face. He
huh?
took his face.
Oh, that's right. He took his face. My bad. He took his face. That's it.
That's
my
it.
favorite.
That's it. I mean, I've never. I mean, I love both of those. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the artistry, fantastic. The bait and switch, fantastic. I think for me, if I'm left with anything else, is really going to be a toss up between the corpse with the death head moth inside, but we don't really see that death, or nor we've inferred why it happened, or like kind of like the mechanisms of what went down with that. So I'm really going to have to go with Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, this was one of those films where it's the first time I'd ever seen anything in like, low light, where, somebody's just like, look at, they can't see, and he's just toying with her and just like trying to brush the hair and just, I mean, just that the tension buildup of that alone. So when she just like started blazing away, was insane to me. So while the death itself might have been a little mediocre, the lead up to that death was fantastic.
That was fantastic. Chef's kiss, fantastic.
So I want to talk about that because we talked about the anxiety, and I think the first half of the film for me, nothing really special about it. The first third, I think it really starts ramping. I mean, she's running through the forest and it's shaky, hand cam, and like it's hard to follow. I was like, okay, this is just typical cinematic fare. But once she like starts going down into the institution and she sees the folding chair at the far end of the cells, the moment she reaches his plexiglass prison, I think was just when everything ratchets up. As soon as he comes on screen, I think nothing else mattered up to that point.
Right.
And he was obsessed with her. Drew her and her lamb and everything.
I know, but he was such a beautiful sketcher. I mean, he's a great artist.
Very artistic.
And yet he had a code of conduct that he felt that Miggs did not live up to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was a brilliant way to show just how like off the rails this man is and what extent and limits he'll go to. But like he has a sense of honor about it. How you conduct yourself. So amazing.
Yes, very much so. And he made it so fun. He was so into character. It was fantastic. And Jodie, she just looked like this, no pun intended, like this little lost lamb, she's all like, wow, what have I got? But she handled it brilliantly. And Jodie Foster really made her believable.
Yeah, she's good. She's good.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways her character is multi-layered. Because I think one of the main points, and we kind of caught it, kind of understood the juxtaposition of her character and all the men throughout the entire film, how they looked at her.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the entire precinct when they went to the mortuary and how they looked at her as being less than. When she's going through the airport and the guy's like turning his head around to see the pretty girl behind him as she's walking past. It's like everywhere she went, when she's in the elevator and she's like 2 feet tall compared to everybody else in the elevator. Now they all just kind of like stare down at her. And even when she was on the track going through the forest and the whole squad of guys went and looked back at the two of them, the two girls, the two women. So the entire film, in essence, is about like how men see women. And as we know, according to Hannibal Lecter, how they covet women.
Yes.
So I think that the adaptation from book to film really portrayed that in a not sometimes a very like obvious way, but it was consistent through the whole film about how they saw women.
Yeah,
So
and I was so that doctor, the doctor's doctor.
yes,
What
yes.
an ass!
Yeah.
What an ass! It was all about the limelight and getting his name out there, and how do you spell his name? And
Yes.
He
oh,
was an ascension whore.
and it's almost like you're rooting Hannibal on. Go
Yes.
get him.
Yeah.
Go have him for dinner. Woo!
Well, I think the irony is that he really thought that he was an intellectual match for Hannibal Lecter. That he was like his arch nemesis. That he actually thought that like he was on brand and on par with Hannibal Lecter, and he was just another administrator with a degree.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thought that was amazing that like he really was deluded to believe that he was something he wasn't when it came to him.
A total ass. That's what I said. I stand by that.
I'm agreeing with you. I think you're totally on point. The guy who plays him does a fantastic job of being just skizzy and like narcissistic and all about himself. I mean, even the fact that the way they talk, this is all the rules you have to do before you go down to see Hannibal Lecter, and he's walking her forward, and he's always very, very proud of his caged animal, basically, and he wants to basically introduce Jodie Foster to Hannibal Lecter, and then she pulls the whole, well, maybe if you're the arch nemesis, you should stay back, and he's like, well, you could have saved me a trip. All the way walking all the way down here with you, and then she's like, well, then I would have had the pleasure of company. But so it was like everybody was playing that dialogue, all these little angles of like how he was trying to make himself bigger. She was trying to, kind of placate him and not make him feel bad. It's like the dialogue was just fantastic, and how they interacted, which showed a lot of the character depth without actually having to have action to it.
Yes.
Because typically, yes, go ahead.
Typically what?
Well, I was going to say, typically as a writer, we all know that we're supposed to show, not tell.
Yeah.
But sometimes dialogue, you could just chew it up. And in this is one of those films that you could just chew up that dialogue, and every sentence seems to have a purpose.
Yes. Yeah, they did a fantastic job with that. I mean, it deserved the Oscar it got.
Yeah,
it did. It surprised the hell out of me, because you don't see a horror film winning an Oscar. But
did they just win one?
I think they won 5.
5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'd have to go back. I have my other stuff up here somewhere, trying to make sure we get it right.
But the last thing I thought is that it would be Best Picture.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was happy because the movie really unnerved me. So it did what it's supposed to do, and it unnerved me again today. Because I was I had my popcorn going, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
That's too much. So let me give you the breakdown. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Anthony Hopkins, Best Actress, Jodie Foster, Best Adapted Screenplay, Ted Talley.
Nice.
So 5.
They swept it.
Yeah.
They did all right. They did all right for a lame horror flick.
Yeah. And Anthony Hopkins did all right for 16 minutes, getting an Oscar for it.
I know. If after all the work I have to put in, oof, I would love having to do all that. But but since you love him so much, Carlie, how are we going to rate this thing? What are we going to do? So, who do you want to go first to rate this?
Well, why don't you go first, Chuck?
What, me?
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to just take the obvious ones. I'm going to get deep dive this because there's so many classic lines and bits in this. I'm going to go just, I got to give it a 5. I got to give it 5 Chiantis and Fava beans for the win. It's just, I took the obvious play, but yeah, this is a film that holds up. It's impactful. The dialogue still stands. It may look a little period piece now because how it was shot and when, but that actually kind of leads to more of this mystique of it looking more like a period piece now that is now, 30 some years later. So, 31 years later, that's how.
Wow.
So yeah, I kind of like it now in that like the idea of the period of the 90s, early 90s, and just like how far we've come, whether it be empowerment for women or like equal, everybody can be an agent where before she could, Jodie couldn't be, and it was like it's a big deal. So yeah, I liked it on all fronts, but I'm definitely gonna go with the performances, the cinematography in the second half, and the dialogue.
Nice.
Baruch.
I'm gonna give it a 5 as well. I'm gonna give it a 5. She puts the lotion on her skin. I don't know why it's my favorite line, but I love it. But I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. But my favorite is about Anthony Hopkins' part. He is really good at getting inside the people's head. Like when he told the lady, your nipples are hard now since like he was getting in people's heads. I don't know how he does it, but he does, and it makes them so mad. And I'm like, how does he do that? But that was my favorite part.
So, Brooke, what you're saying is you're taking notes of like so how you can get in people's heads later. Let me just do what Anthony Hopkins did. And I want to say that was all a ploy from Hannibal Lecter, because he was drawing out this whole subterfuge, because nobody was going to give him a room with a view. This was all BS on all fronts. And so basically he did what he does best, which is rile you up so that you think the truth he's going to tell you is the truth, because now you're not paying attention, because now you're all emotional about everything, which is why, what's going to harden your nipples now once you find her dead. So.
What about you, Carlie?
What about me? I got to go along with you guys. A solid 5 out of 5. Precious. You're precious.
I think she broke her leg on the way down, mister. It's like she's in a lot of pain. I mean, I want to know how often they use a real dog in that scene versus like just some puppet, because she was really like kind of holding that dog pretty freaking tight.
But I love that at the end when they are bringing her out of the house, she's holding on to that dog.
She won't let go. She won't let go.
Yeah, won't let go.
But then, I mean, her attitude here. Okay, I have one thing to say about that almost to be victim. Jodie Foster Clarice Starling comes around on her own, finds her in the well, and says, "You gotta be quiet. I'll be right back." And then as soon as she leaves, that stupid girl in the well starts calling her a bitch. I'd be like, you know what? I'm just leaving you in there. I was like, I know she's emotional, but
under duress.
You know what? You could be under duress, but man, if that person's going to save you, I'd be like, no, please.
Right.
Not you, bitch.
So she is not that nice, kind, beautiful woman that her mother claimed her to be on air when she was making that plea to the kidnappers.
No, but then when they first show her, she's singing American Girl.
Yeah.
And that was just so fitting, because that's kind of what he was looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And also she did go over to help him with his faux cast. So she was kind enough, man. But yeah, she not sure if that was her real deal, or if she was really a psychopath. Man, I want to see what happens to her. I want to see when she has her movie, when she starts killing people.
Right.
If this was the Scream franchise.
Yeah, we would take on everything. We wouldn't care. Be like, what happened to the dog? Does the dog have their own series?
We're just going to pretend the dog lived happily ever after.
I hope so. Because I got a feeling that there would be a lot of codependency with Precious and the victim, and I think that maybe she would be like really toxic in that relationship with her. Only get her chicken bones, like she'd never give her anything but she'd live in a bucket. It'd be terrible. I don't know if she'd like that life. Oh, hey, I tell you what, though, one of the things I was not expecting, I totally forgot from the first time, was when Clarice is going around the house clearing the rooms, and she finds the mother. I'm assuming it's the mother.
Yes.
in the bathtub, all sludged up. Oh,
good. Oh.
So are we to assume that's Buffalo Bill's mom?
Yes.
Okay.
Really?
Well,
I thought that was the lady that he killed and took her house over. That's not her?
Well, he said she had a son.
Right. And he might be able to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He might be able to help you. And that's, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't check. Sure. Yeah, I didn't check to see if that was like I
didn't see.
Oh wow. Cora, will you sit down?
But it was so gross. Oh, just to see that all. And that is very reminiscent of Psycho, right? Of just that mother still there in a bathtub, just scroted up. But crazy. So with that, I mean, we're kind of coming in close. So what next? Who's next? Who's picking?
Me. And it is, I'm gonna say it wrong, I know I will. Frailty.
You got on the third try. Frailty with let me read off the cast if I remember them. Matthew McConaughey, Powers Booth,
Bill Paxton.
I don't remember the two boys' names, the young actors, but I love this film and I can't wait to see it again. It is one of my.
I can't wait to hear Carlie's point of view on it.
You're gonna make what is? Are you gonna make me cry or are you gonna make me go, oh my god?
There's some pretty emotional parts in it that revolve around the boys. And there's some twists and turns along the way. Some of it shot gloriously, like in nice sepia tones. It goes back to the past, to the present. I will say there's a certain car ride that seems very on stage. And so that kind of took me out of the film just a little, but overall, I loved it. I love this film. I can't wait to see it again. Talk about a film I hope holds up.
You can see it for free on YouTube with ads.
Yes.
Yeah, with ads.
Yeah, no, I was looking at Hulu and Amazon, but they're premium.
Yeah.
Which means that you've got to have a secondary service to get it like a Shudder or something. So yeah, let's not go down the Ashley, we wish you were here, although we know you're having an amazing time. But anytime I see premium, I'm thinking how she made me pay $3.99 for that other movie.
That happened twice actually. Once with Yellow Brick Road.
Yes.
And then the other one, which one was it?
I don't remember, but I do know that I watched Yellow Brick Road before it left Amazon.
Yes, you did.
And then you all had to pay for it because you were a little late to the party. That's why you can't wait till Sunday to watch these movies.
Oh yeah, we wait until like the last 3 hours.
You're like, what time is it? 5:30? I got time.
It's I normally have it as either my Saturday or my Sunday morning routine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I'm not running around trying to get my son to work and all this other stuff. It's just me, coffee, the dog, and a horror film.
Speaking of things that are scary, but not because you do it in the morning. This is for Brooke. I watched Insidious again. I watched it at 10:30 at night, so I got done at like 12:15 in the morning. And for a movie that's not that scary in terms of like jump scares and things that are really like out of the ordinary. I actually was getting a little creeped out in my house, like as I was going to bed, worried that like the bad guys were going to come up the stairs after me. So,
where is it?
Insidious?
Yeah.
I think it's on Max.
Okay.
If I'll check afterwards.
I mean, come on. Have I ever seen most of the movies, Brooke?
That's true. That's true.
Brooke's like, I've seen everyone several times.
Yeah.
That is her favorite genre
sheltered.
series ever. You are, but we're getting you out there.
Yes.
We're getting at you out there. All right. Well, that brings us to a close. So love to you both.
Much love.
Much love. And love to Miss Ashley and all her loveliness. And so I will say goodbye and I love you. So with that, thank you again for joining us on this Sunday night for another time that we're together talking about horror. And don't forget, be good to yourself and we'll scare you later.